Imagine if every fleeting idea, each emotion coursing through your chest, every word that left your lips, wasn't vanishing into nothing, but was instead bouncing back, shaping the environment you live in. Now consider this. What if that's been happening all along, and you just didn't see it? Most people move through life with blinders on. They shrug off patterns, they laugh at strange coincidences, they call things luck or misfortune. But here's the twist. None of it is random. That recurring situation, that person who keeps reappearing, the emotional loops that won't quit, they're not accidents, they're responses. Your surroundings are not ignoring you. They're echoing back your inner state. Every single moment you're transmitting a signal. And no, it's not made of sound. It's built from emotions, deep-rooted expectations, thoughts that run on autopilot. And that signal, it's being received and answered constantly. The issue isn't whether this greater field of intelligence is paying attention. It is. The real question is whether you're fluent in the way it communicates, because it doesn't speak English, or any spoken language, really. It responds to the energy beneath your reactions, the core behind your intentions, and if you're not aware of that, you're sending mixed messages into the void. This conversation between you and everything around you never stops. It began the moment you started thinking, not consciously, but energetically. If you believe you're isolated in your own head, you're missing the entire mechanism of how reality works. Life isn't reacting to what you say aloud, it's resonating with what you hold inside. That persistent thought of lack, that hidden fear of failure. It shows up, not because life is unfair, but because it follows the signal you're unknowingly emitting. And the wildest part? Once you recognize this ongoing interaction, you can't pretend not to see it anymore. Once it's visible, your entire experience changes. Permanently. It's easy to think that your requests are heard through speech, that the universe is tallying up your affirmations, or counting how many times you say you want success. But reality doesn't work like that. It never did. Everything you interact with, every object, every thought, every heartbeat, is made of motion. Not the kind you see, but the kind you feel. The subtle frequency that hums beneath the surface of all things. You're not just a body or a brain. You're a transmission tower, constantly releasing signals that shape the atmosphere around you. Repeating phrases won't shift your circumstances if your internal state doesn't match. You might say you're ready for abundance, but if fear still anchors your thoughts, your energetic message is contradiction. That mismatch is the reason people relive the same stories: unstable relationships, financial tension, emotional burnout. It's not because fate is cruel. It's because their dominant frequency hasn't changed. This isn't theory, it's natural law. Vibration attracts more of itself. Just like a radio dial must align with a specific station to play the sound clearly, your internal state must resonate with the experiences you wish to live. Otherwise, you keep cycling through static. Most people think they're sending out intentions, but really they're repeating loops. Beliefs shaped by upbringing, reinforced by repetition, quietly inform every outcome. You can't override those patterns just by wishing. You have to retune your internal channel, and once you do, everything begins to shift. Not overnight, but inevitably. Because energy doesn't argue, it matches, it mirrors, it responds. The question is no longer, why is this happening to me, but rather, what signal am I constantly broadcasting that's being mirrored right back? You're not calling things into existence by chance. You're syncing with them. Like tuning an old-school dial, every emotional and mental state you carry positions you on a different bandwidth. That bandwidth, it determines what flows into your life. People often wonder why things never seem to change. They set goals, recite mantras, write intentions. Yet what returns to them is familiar. More struggle, similar setbacks, the same types of connections. The reason is simple. The frequency never actually changed. Every time you focus on fear, you're calibrating to limitation. Every time you worry, you're locking into lack. Say you want love, but carry unprocessed pain. You'll find that same tension mirrored in those you meet. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it's honest. It doesn't judge, it reflects. Reality listens to your energy, not your intentions. You don't need to beg or repeat what you want 100 times. What matters is what you believe when no one's watching. What you carry when your mind is quiet. There's no such thing as a neutral signal. Even silence has a tone. That's why being unaware of what you're resonating with doesn't stop the feedback. It just keeps you stuck in repetition. And repetition creates illusion. It makes people think life is random or unfair, when really it's just consistent. But once you shift your state, not just in thought but in embodiment, the dial moves. The station changes. You stop hearing static and things begin to click. Meetings align, ideas emerge, momentum builds. It's not luck, it's clarity. And clarity comes when your energy stops contradicting itself. You don't find alignment by forcing outcomes. You find it by choosing resonance and sticking to it long enough for the external world to catch up. Saying something over and over doesn't make it real. Not if your body rejects it every time you speak. You can declare that you're worthy, successful, or loved. But if your inner world says otherwise, those words dissolve the moment they're spoken. That's where most people get stuck. They treat affirmations like spells, thinking the right phrase can override years of emotional residue. But words are surface level. What shapes your world lies far beneath, in the space where your real beliefs live. If deep down you feel like a fraud saying, "I am confident," only amplifies the dissonance. If you repeat, "I am abundant," but secretly expect the worst, the universe won't argue. It'll confirm the frequency you're actually living in. True transformation starts when your language and your inner state begin to harmonize. That doesn't mean faking happiness or forcing yourself to smile through discomfort. It means finding the root of your beliefs and upgrading them, not just with words, but with conviction. Affirmations don't work because they sound pretty. They work when they resonate. When you say, "I am enough," and your system finally believes it, not just intellectually but emotionally, then everything shifts. That's the moment your energy stops pulling against itself. And here's the trap. People only lean on affirmations when they feel broken. They reach for positive phrases as a lifeline, not as reinforcement of truth. But transformation doesn't begin with desperation. It begins with certainty. You're not trying to convince the universe. You're retraining the one part of you that never stops creating, your subconscious. And the subconscious doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you consistently feel. So instead of repeating hollow statements, find even the smallest proof in your past that supports the belief you're trying to grow. Build from that. Let the emotion be real. Because when belief and energy match, the universe doesn't just notice, it adjusts. Thoughts are fleeting. Conversations fade. But when you write something down, it gains weight. It crosses a line, from idea to intention, from emotion to energy in motion. It becomes real. Most people live with scattered desires. They want many things, but they rarely define what those things are. Their minds stay cluttered with mixed feelings, unclear goals, and inconsistent focus. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But the universe doesn't respond to noise. It responds to clarity. Putting pen to paper forces you to slow down. It makes you choose your words, organize your mind, and identify what actually matters to you. It's not about making a wish list. It's about creating alignment. When you write with intent, not as a desperate request but as a declaration, you shift something. It's not just about asking, it's about affirming. It's about saying, "This is what I stand for. This is what I'm open to." This is the energy I'm claiming, and that clarity sends a signal far more powerful than scattered thinking ever could. Some people write and keep their words nearby, using them as reminders. Others burn the page and release it as a symbol of letting go. It doesn't matter how, you do it. What matters is the presence you bring to the act. What matters is the energy behind the ink. Because writing is more than communication, it's alignment, its intention solidified, its focus made visible. Across time, written, words have shaped empires, sealed commitments and sparked revolutions. Don't underestimate what a few lines on a page can do when they're charged with belief, honesty and vision. So the next time you're unclear, sit with the page. Speak to the universe in ink. Write like it's already unfolding, because in a way it is. And the moment you're precise, the process begins. To most, prayer is begging, meditation is a luxury, and presence is something they chase when life finally slows down. But what if these weren't separate things? What if they were different expressions of the same doorway? See, prayer isn't about pleading with some force beyond the clouds. It's not about asking for intervention. It's about aligning with what you already believe is possible. When you speak from a place of trust, not lack, you don't ask, you affirm. You don't request, you declare. That certainty carries a vibration far stronger than desperation ever could. Meditation is where the reply comes in. If prayer is your voice, meditation is how you hear the response, not in sentences, not through thunder, but through inner nudges, clarity that comes out of nowhere, or a feeling that something just clicked. Most never catch these cues. Their thoughts are too loud, their attention too scattered. And then there's presence, the most underestimated of the three. You can't receive anything if you're not here for it. Not truly. While your mind races through what's next or rewinds what went wrong, everything you're asking for might already be trying to reach you, but you're not home to catch it. Presence isn't passive. It's a skill, one that makes you available to the very answers you've been seeking. When you're grounded in now, everything becomes more visible. The conversation that shifts your mindset, the coincidence that lines up too perfectly, the decision that just feels right. Most people miss the messages because they're not really in the conversation. They talk at the universe but don't leave space for a reply. They act like there's silence, when in truth there's only static from within. The guidance is always there. The connection never broke. But the question is, are you quiet enough to hear it, open enough to trust it, and present enough to act on it? People talk about what they want all the time. They visualize it, affirm it, journal about it. But then the moment the day starts, they slip back into doubt, stress, and old emotional habits, and they wonder why nothing shifts. Here's the truth. You don't get what you wish for. You receive what matches your internal state. You could say you desire abundance, but if you live in worry, you're aligning with scarcity. You could imagine the perfect relationship, but if your energy says, "I don't believe I deserve this," that's what the universe tunes into. Real change begins when you stop reaching for the future and start acting like it's already here. When your decisions, your mindset, your feelings, and your actions reflect that the thing you want isn't a distant dream. It's your current identity. It's not about pretending. It's about embodying. That means walking through your day as someone who already owns the life they've been aiming for. Speaking from stability. Moving with trust. Letting go of the question when because you already know it's unfolding. Many sabotage their process by constantly checking if it's working. That energy says, "I don't really believe it's mine yet." And the universe, always precise, reflects that back. The need to chase something only proves you think it's missing. But when you operate from the energy of completion, things begin to click. Your external world rearranges itself to meet the version of you that's leading the way. Not the one still stuck in waiting mode. It's not magic. It's alignment. The universe doesn't give you results because you asked the right way. It mirrors who you've chosen to become. The shift isn't out there. It's in how fully you embody what you claim to want before it ever arrives. Most people think imagining something is just mental entertainment. Harmless, maybe hopeful, but ultimately passive. But what if the pictures in your head were more than thoughts? What if they were blueprints? Your mind doesn't wait for physical proof to react. When you vividly see yourself succeeding, loving, thriving, your body responds. Your emotions engage. Your nervous system fires up as if it's already happening. That response isn't just imagination, it's preparation, it's creation in motion. This is where visualization becomes powerful, not when it's vague daydreaming, but when it's intentional, emotionally charged and specific. Not just I want, but I feel. Not someday, but this is who I am now. When you picture the outcome you desire and actually feel the excitement, the peace, the certainty of it, you begin sending a clear, energetic message. One that doesn't beg, doesn't doubt, but radiates congruence. Here's where many go wrong. They visualize the life they want while carrying fear it will never come. They focus on a better reality while holding onto the emotional weight of the one they're trying to leave. That conflict dilutes the signal. Visualization isn't just mental, it's vibrational. And every time you replay a worst-case scenario in your head, filled with anxiety or dread, you're practicing a different kind of manifestation, one that works just as well in the opposite direction. So ask yourself, what future are you rehearsing? Are your mental movies pulling you closer to what you want, or reinforcing what you fear? When done right, seeing is believing. But even more, feeling is becoming. The stronger the emotional clarity you bring to your inner vision, the more magnetic it becomes. You're not hoping, it's already real in your field. Your job is to hold that signal long enough for the world around you to respond. Most are waiting for fireworks, for something big, undeniable, loud, to confirm they're on the right path. But that's not how the universe speaks. It whispers. It nudges through repetition, through timing, through that strange coincidence that happens just when you needed it. Through a sentence in a random conversation, a number on a screen, a person you weren't expecting to run into. But if your mind is distracted, if you're caught in overthinking or obsessing about outcomes, you miss it, and you call it silence. Here's the truth. The universe never stops responding. It just doesn't follow your expectations. If you're looking for flashing signs, you'll overlook the quiet confirmations already around you. If you expect a clear yes or no, you might miss the redirection you didn't know you needed. Sometimes the sign is a delay, a pause, a moment that forces you to breathe and rethink. And sometimes the message comes in a form so ordinary, you don't recognize it until much later. People often reject the answer because it didn't arrive the way they imagined. They asked for clarity but didn't like the form it took. They wanted proof but dismissed the insight that came through their own intuition because it didn't look external enough. What's being overlooked isn't the message. It's your ability to notice it. And when you constantly question why hasn't it happened yet, that very question sends out a signal of disbelief, of doubt, of distance. The more you chase the sign, the more you affirm that it's not here, and the universe, being exact, mirrors that back. You don't need to hunt for proof. You need to pay attention. Trust isn't about waiting for confirmation. It's about knowing it's already unfolding, even if you don't see the full picture yet. When you stop demanding the answer, you create space to actually receive it. People often say they're manifesting, but behind the scenes they're micromanaging every detail, checking for results, doubting the process, second-guessing their intuition. What they call intention is actually control. And control blocks flow. The need to dictate how and when something should happen is rooted in fear. It says, I don't trust it will unfold unless I force it. But creation doesn't respond to pressure. it responds to alignment. When you're constantly asking, is it working? The message you send out is that it isn't. And that energy loops back. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means stepping aside. It means knowing that once the seed is planted, your job is not to dig it up every day, but to nourish the space around it with belief. Most people sabotage their progress by reacting to every delay as failure. They think the process has stalled, when in truth what's happening is realignment. The universe is not punishing you, it's preparing you, redirecting what doesn't fit, stripping away what blocks what you asked for. Here's what's often missed. The energy you carry while you wait determines what arrives. Impatience speaks of lack. Doubt attracts more confusion. But certainty, that draws everything in. When you embody trust, not as a concept but as a state, you move differently. You stop chasing signs, you stop forcing outcomes. You begin to act like it's already done. And that behavior shifts the entire field around you. You can't receive clearly if you're trying to control the timing or the path. You can't see what's unfolding if you're only looking for one specific outcome. What you're seeking isn't somewhere far away. It's already moving towards you the moment you match its frequency. Your role isn't to beg for it, it's to become the version of you who naturally aligns with it. And when that shift happens, when you finally stop needing proof, you'll realize it was never about getting anything. It was about becoming the person who no longer needs to.